Kicking right back in here. Yo, yo, yo. Hope you enjoyed the credits. I always do. Always. The name of the game is Voloheen, Winds of War. The name of this episode is Blood Money. And we're on the fourth session of this episode, if I am not mistaken. So let's go ahead and do group therapy. Just a quick little recap of what happened last session is that the session before last session ended with Theala throwing a couple of fireballs at the ship that was called the Intrepid. That was the one that they had to go investigate. And they saw another ship approaching, which was a member of the Harbor Watch, essentially Twin Harbor's version of the Coast Guard. And the Tranquility and the whole crew on the Tranquility, everyone was trying to deceive everyone into thinking that they were members of the Harbor Watch when they were not. So an actual ship of the Harbor Watch came along to check out the situation. During that session, there was a big epic battle. I think Theala almost died, maybe. Halifax took some crazy damage too, and I can see that because the cool Twitch overlay on the left. And
Eridu stabbed the boat.
Eridu stabbed the boat. Eridu actually did not much useful stuff other than sinking that boat.
I used up all of my resources just before the combat even started.
Yeah, exactly.
So I spent the rest of the combat just making sure people couldn't plug the hole that I put in the boat.
For sure. So there was a crazy combat there, and the other ship.
Got the third fireball. I heated armor.
Heated armor up. Yeah, it was a gnarly battle, and it ended with the other ship, the Stalwart, also sinking. So this party is up to 2 for 2 for ships sunk this episode. They're 2 for 2. Can they go 3 for 3?
Are they we're gonna sink our ship now?
Sink the Tranquility? I mean, you guys seem to be really into it.
Yeah.
So, people keep on opening fire on me.
You are opening fire on them with a fireball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
once I get emulsion, then it'll be fine.
I will start out the therapy just by saying Eridu is he's kind of concerned that they're a little fucked now. Like they're pretty much in a bad space. I bet you they're going to be outlaws, and he is concerned about how that is going to interfere with his mission to save Agner from the Bureau. So that's where he's at, just in a state of, well, this couldn't have gotten any worse.
A little bit.
Actually, you know what? Theala is there are no, I guess we did let people go, didn't we?
Yeah, there are several.
They left people go. I was perfectly happy to stop them from talking. So now, yes, we are going to be outlaws. Theala was more than ready to silence
silence the non-believer.
The people who were or could have gone back and reported, because all anyone would have noticed is some explosions far off, and that would not have been enough information to base anything off of. But you guys, so that would be your only concern right now, or not? Concern, I think, is a strong word.
It's okay, Drew.
I would say, consternation. A little bit of apprehension is that there are people who could go back and report them, although they did just fuck their world. So here's hoping that they're too afraid to rat us out.
That's certainly a possibility. Halifax is one to keep moving forward rather than to dwell on the past. You cannot change the past, so you keep moving forward, and that is the way he's going to be concentrating on things rather than dwelling on the fact that Thiala could very well have exacerbated a tense potential war situation. That is not going to carry much weight with Halifax. Halifax joined Emily's cause and was tasked with joining Eridu and Thiala to get some information about these ships. They now have the information about those ships. Some unfortunate circumstances have happened, yes, but the main task is done. So long as the mission is completed, we return to Emily with the information, and she is able to use that to better the lives of the people in Twin Harbor. That's the main thing, and that's going to be, at that point, job done. But Halifax wants to continue working with Emily because she is looking out for the better people. And so, because he wants that, and because Thiala and Eridu over the last few days have sort of grown on him a little bit, he's starting to think about the future and how to reduce the backlash on this, how to get around it, how to make sure that we're not going to live a life on the lam.
For sure. Drew, can you do me a quick little experiment here? Can you turn that microphone 180 degrees around? And say
Hello.
something? Ha ha ha! That's so much better. It's so much better. Yeah. Yeah, it was like very muffled on the other side. And then you flipped it to that side, and then it's crystal clear.
Brilliant. Okay, I apologize about that.
Oh, that's all
That
good.
will also be why the bin sounds were like super loud, because I can hear a little bit in my headphones as well.
It's one of those special unidirectional mics.
It's got a little toggle here, and I don't quite fully understand the symbols, but I've got it on the single circle.
Okay. Well, that seems like that's what that does, maybe. Sweet. Okay, so group therapy has been all concluded, and we will pick up this session pretty much right where we left off, where your characters were standing on the deck and just kind of taking stock of the situation and trying to comprehend the far-reaching consequences of what has just happened. The rest of the Tranquility crew, only some of them are on the top deck, and some of them look a little more tired and battered than others. Malcolm, in particular, he's still going around and doing his whole thing where he's trying to bark orders, but he got fucked up in that battle, so he is clutching his side. I think he also got healed a little bit, but it's still...
I healed him for 3d8, whatever
For sure. For sure.
And also, if you guys take a short rest while I'm taking a short rest, and I'll be playing my ocarina, everybody gets an additional d6 if they take a short rest and use their dice.
Hit dice.
Hit dice, thank you.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So yeah, you guys can definitely count this as a short rest, as your characters are just trying to struggle with what the hell is going on. And what just happened.
Oh, did I even take any damage?
You took 2 damage, I think.
I did 3. Oh, man. Gotta use them hit die.
Yeah.
Actually, short rest does get me something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you probably get some ability back or something.
Hopefully some key points.
Hopefully.
So, Drew, I know, took it. So, yeah, he has 27 out of 50. So, yeah, take that shit. And don't forget to add a d6 on top of that.
A d6 to however many.
Correct.
So so if I pick 3 of my hit dice, I just add a 4th.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I will do that. I will do 3 of my hit dice, so 4 d6 in total.
Right. As long as you take at least one of them, you get an additional one.
And you add
additional D6, not necessarily your D6.
And you add your
It goes
Constitution
up every
modifier.
single level.
You add your Constitution modifier to every hit die, right?
Oh, to every hit die.
Every hit
Yes.
die. Yeah.
Oh, you add your modifier too?
Yeah.
If anybody else is on their phone,
let me add more.
If anybody else is on the phone, please see if the D&D Beyond overlay works for you, because it is not working for me or for Mike.
It's working for me.
On your phone?
On your phone?
Oh, on my phone, no clue.
Yeah, it's working just fine on my computer, but not on my phone.
On the app or on the browser?
Twitch app.
Okay.
You give a shout out if you're on something different, Mike, but I'm on the Twitch app. All right,
Okay.
I just want to throw that out there. That's going to be now in our YouTube video forever, so we'll hear our technical difficulties. Hey! It's all right.
We're professional and flawless.
We are, exactly. We did not start today out with technical difficulties. All right, so short rest is taken by all?
Yes, I have healed up to 48 hit points, which is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So in the course of this hour, there's going to be an amount of discussion. And yeah, I think maybe the first person to hold on, let me consult my notes really quick, because I want to pull someone in here. Like
Eridu would be happy to start the conversation by just going, well, that could have gone a lot better.
Yeah, Zoe Wash comes up from the bottom deck, and she just looks around at the chaos and says, "What in the hells did you do?"
Well, there were enemies, and we took care of them in a very militaristic fashion. I'll give a slight glance over to Theala. Hey, I got her name right.
For once.
Good sir, that you did.
What is the extent of the damage to the Tranquility?
Minimal damage. I was checking the hull. You should be thankful that we didn't get rammed, or none of the flaming debris hit our ship at all. We're lucky.
What we're unlucky about is the fact that, look, we now have 2 ships sunk, and it's very unlikely that nobody saw that happening. I don't know how easy it'll be for us to get back into the city and inform
Emily?
blanking out her name. Emily. Emily of what's going on. And we may find ourselves in trouble with the watch.
Our individual involvement should not be widely known. If we could get onto some of the lifeboats and sail to shore, to the docks, we'd be able to return to Emily. My concern is to make sure that our impact on the Tranquility is minimal. We wouldn't want to deprive you of precious vessels. You could send us across with an escort and return the vessels later. Just hide the Tranquility around a corner, another bay or cove, or perhaps even entirely offshore. It's a possibility. Not the ideal one. I understand that the Tranquility probably wants to resupply at some point as well.
Malcolm will stare at you with a very stern look, Halifax, and he'll say, "Absolutely none of this has been ideal. I really care about Emily. I really care about you all completing your mission, but I think the cost to my crew may have been too much."
There is an old drow saying, there are 4 things to know. You know what you know. You know what you don't know. sometimes you don't know what you know, nor do you know, and there are things that you don't know. I think this is a situation where we didn't know what we didn't know, and we had to make calls based on information we didn't know, which ended poorly. And for that, I take responsibility. But we can't dwell on that now. We have to find a way of providing you with plausible deniability and with allowing us to complete our mission by reporting back to Emily.
Malcolm looks like he is about to speak more, but then with a clank and a clunk, the metal body of Zarkon takes a few steps forward toward you, Theala, and interrupts and says, "My child, feel no shame for what you have done. You performed admirably. Just like a drow princess should."
Oh, I'm no princess.
You look like the noble part to me.
That I cannot deny. I do have noble blood.
I always know.
Well, going back to what Halifax said earlier, because we should resolve this situation before more Harbor Watch come, and, well, we are left dead in the water. We could take some of the boats, but I think that going straight to the docks might be a bad idea. We probably could anchor in on the bottom, in the under part of the city where the sewage is let out. And that way, we won't be discovered coming into the city. Malcolm, I'm afraid to say it, but I do think that we have gotten your crew into a lot of trouble here, and it might be best if you find a place to anchor that is not within the harbors for a little while. We both know that Garth will not take this very wisely, or very kindly.
The more I think about going back to Twin Harbor, the more I detest the idea. Malcolm seems lost in thought, and he looks as he's about to speak again, but instead he just calms himself, turns around, and he walks to the opposite side of the Tranquility and takes a moment to look over what would otherwise be a calm sea, but now it's pockmarked with little fires and the still sinking wreckage of the Intrepid.
Quick question.
Yeah?
And I forget whose game it was, would that secondary dock on the eastern side of Twin Harbor, would that have been around more than a year ago?
Yeah. The idea I had with designing that aspect of Twin Harbor is that both of those docks have been a staple of the city for a very long time.
The one that's to the east.
You mean like farther into the mouth of the river?
The one that we played in like last episode.
Oh, the one that the Azamara are constructing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Drew's one, dude. That was Drew's.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, Drew has to
that would be
answer
new.
that one.
That would be within the last year?
No, I mean like that just happened in the previous episode.
what were the docks around within the last year?
No, because they had to bring the druids in to do it, and that was only like a recent development with the druids being contacted to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thiala started her walkabout around a year ago. So anything that was as elite forces that she would know about, anything from a year ago before, she would probably have privy information to. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
It, from my knowledge, and I'm just a player in both these sessions. From what I'm getting, both the mechanical dragon and that little base and the docks that were built on the cliffs, below the cliffs attached to that base, as well as the Warforge program, all of that is very, very new, like secret, new military development stuff. And I remember, because Drew, you brought up the whole thing with the druids, they had to like shape that area of the land in order to make it even feasible for them to get docks in that area.
Exactly.
So all that, to my understanding, is brand new.
Uh-huh.
Within the last maybe 6 months.
Okay, it wasn't quite clear, and I didn't want to like player knowledge that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we've only mentioned timelines like at the very beginning of episodes and things, and then a lot happens. We have the whole episode, so like the timeline of what's happened when it is hazy.
Yeah, well, if you'll remember, when I took over this episode, I had no downtime whatsoever. We picked up exactly where Drew left off.
Right, but there was no clarification. We didn't discuss when.
Yeah.
How long that dock has been there? There wasn't really a.
Well, Drew definitely left the clues to say that it was a recent development.
Yeah,
I do see what Josh is asking, though. Like, I think more the question is, were those docks already there and unused, and then they kind of utilized them, or were they just built in that time frame? And you're right, we never talked about that.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so now that that's all cleared up, I hope.
Which, to clarify, those docks were recently built with the development of that base and the reshaping of that land.
That's fine. I just didn't want to input player knowledge. That's all.
I understand. So now that that's all cleared up,
right?
Thank you. Let's go ahead and have everyone who's on the top deck, which is all three of you, go ahead and roll some perception checks. It's time to roll dice. We've been playing for 30 minutes or whatever, and it's time to roll dice.
Guys,
dice are involved in this? What?
Yeah, dice in this game, dude, for real.
I got a 14.
I'm gonna look for a dice roll online. I'm sorry about this.
You're a scrub, Asa.
Not great. 11.
It only sucks because dice rollers hate me.
All right.
That's not too bad though. That's a 17. Nope, that's persuasion. That's an 18.
All right, so Thiala is a little too involved with playing her ocarina for a moment. Tweet.
Not an innuendo.
No, it's not. It's an ocarina. Come on, get your mind out of the gutter. But Hillophax and Eridu, it's like. So Malcolm is looking on this side where the ruins of the Intrepid are, and you guys look to the other side, and you see a very curious sight. You see, let's call it an unidentified flying object. but it's not like it's not a ship or anything. It's a small speck of a thing that is falling down in the air. It's like off in the distance, and it's in midair, and it's falling down, and then it disappears and reappears closer to you, and it keeps falling down, and it just keeps doing this incrementally, bit by bit. Falls, disappears, reappears, falls, disappears, reappears, falls, and it's coming toward you.
Malcolm, do you have a spyglass?
Yes. Ask Kaylee. She's always the one who's stealing it from me.
Kaylee, is she on the top deck?
Oh yeah, she's on the top deck. She's actually using the spyglass right now, and she's like taking a look at the wreckage of both the Stalwart and the Intrepid. She might.
Can I see that?
Oh,
can I see the spyglass, please?
Oh, yes. Okay. I mean, I was just looking to see maybe if there was anything we could possibly salvage, but okay, here you go.
Thank you. I'm gonna look at this falling object.
You look at the falling object, and as you get a closer look at it, it takes a little second to recalibrate, and you gotta do that funny thing every time that it reappears back again. But you find him, and you're tracking it, and it is a humanoid figure. From this distance, you can see he's wearing a robe, and he's got a very ugly, scraggly, long gray beard that is flapping in the wind. And every time he is falling, there's a curious thing where his robes are like billowing around him, and you get this look at his bare legs, just like hairy, knobbly old man legs that keep peeking out at you every time he's falling. The rate he's falling at, it looks like he's falling like slower than he should rightfully be falling.
I would recommend or recognize that because I can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. He's
But it's more like my crazy monk talent. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how to fall slowly.
yeah,
But
no, this is like some Mary Poppins shit. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have an umbrella, but he's got his
Right.
robes and whatever. So anyways, it's a human male. He looks old and grumpy and pissed off, and every time that he gets closer to you with a little jump, you can just get a better look at his face, and he just looks like angry and wrinkly.
Does it look like my face step where he just disappears and reappears a few like 30 feet or several
more
feet
like
away?
60 feet, but yeah.
It's that bloop. It looks like a blink or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it's just kind of like there's like a little puff
Alright.
every time. There's like a little puff when he just disappears and then reappears. It's like puff, 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 puff.
I mean, as a player, I know what he's doing, but as a character, I'm just gonna kind of apply what I know of myself.
Mhm.
I'm gonna look around and say, there appears to be a robed old man falling toward us. What should we do about this?
I'd imagine lending our aid.
All right. Eridu is going to hand Kaylee the spyglass back and crack his knuckles. Well, I'm ready when you are.
The robed figure keeps going on his way, puffing his way, poof, 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 right toward you guys. And soon enough, as you guys all look up and you're tracking his journey, he puffs his way all the way above the tranquility, and he falls from a great height. You know, it's like at least like 100 feet, 150 feet or something. He's fallen from a great height. And as you look up, you get a really gross view of like his legs and his like loincloth. You know, it's just like everything's open and billowing as he's like coming down toward you. And he lands solidly on the deck, on his feet, bouncing a little bit, and it seems like the fall did not faze him in any way whatsoever. As he stands on the deck, he looks at you all in turn with a scowl on his face, and he says, "All right, listen up, you incompetent fools. Amateur hour is officially over." And at that, he reaches into his pouch and pulls out a little silver clasped thing, and he opens it, and there's several hand-rolled cigarettes. And he pulls out a cigarette, motions with his hand next to him, and says, "Conflagra!" And a giant cube of fire appears in the middle of the air. And he calmly reaches out, lights a cigarette, extinguishes the flame, and then just sits there.
Eridu
Puffing
is
and
going to
looking
get
at
into
you all.
a combat stance and say, I have been told we are here to give you our aid. I unfortunately do not have the ability to cast fire of any sort, but I think a few punches to the face should do for aid, right?
You're the smarmy elf that Emily told me about. Eridu,
Oh, you're with
right?
Emily. All right.
Yes,
Sorry. Lately, I thought that our aid meant we beat up the people that we are supposed to be helping.
right, confusing.
Hmm.
I am going to be leaning on my staff for support.
I think Eridu spent too much time with On. I feel like that was a very On thing to
It
do.
was an yeah. So,
And how
Halifax,
might we help you, falling man?
that's a bit complicated. I mean, you can help me, but I don't know. It seems like more like you need my help. That's more what it seems like.
Well, I'm certainly not one to turn down aid. We're currently discussing getting back to Emily with information.
Yeah, about that. Emily is pissed. Emily is very pissed right now. Just thought you should know. I don't want you to walk into a hornet's nest without realizing it.
It's been barely an hour since unfortunate events had transpired. How is she aware?
Like I said, amateur hour is officially over. It's called divination magic. I figured someone like you would be able to tell. It's
Yes.
Look, I helped Emily see the whole thing go down. And, for your information, we weren't the only ones watching. I could tell there was other scrying sensors here. And the fact that you didn't see it just confirms my whole statement that you're all incompetent fools.
Well, one's
So if
senses
you
are not
knew
always looking for everything.
On and you could see it.
Hold on, two different things going on at the same time. I didn't catch any of that.
Sorry, go on Theala first.
Okay, so if you knew what was going on and can see it, why send fools on this errand? This is a waste of my time. I have other things I can be doing.
Well,
I
that...
believe the... Sorry.
No. You say it.
I believe the divinations employed in this instance were ones to observe the present tense rather than future events. We were given our opportunity, and things did go awry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Emily was totally confident in the smarmy elf over here, and whatever the hell you are. And he points at Halifax. She was completely confident in their ability to do the job, but you, and points at Theala, came out of nowhere.
Oh, the other elf.
Came out of nowhere. She's so pissed. She's so pissed that you got brought in. You're a stranger to her.
No. First off, what is your name?
My name is Finnegan. Finnegan Odwick. At your service, or it's more like you're at my service. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
Finnegan, it is a pleasure to meet you. Now, I am the one who is responsible for Theala's actions, as I'm the one who brought her in on this quest. I trusted her, and I still do. She made a call that perhaps was not the right one for the mission, but it was based on the information that she had. I, in the situation, would be her superior and am them therefore responsible for her actions.
Look, you don't gotta answer to me. I'm not your boss. I guess Emily's your boss.
Here's the thing. I prevented the worst possible timeline. If you had seen us and our actions in the situation with which we were in, then you would have known exactly what was going on and why I made the decision that I made.
Look,
it was the best call of a shitty situation.
It is unfortunate, Theala, that we do not possess the almost godlike surveillance that our allies were afforded. It is possible that there were things that we missed and were not made to avail ourselves of. There's also the benefit of hindsight. Now, what we could do is continue ruminating over past events, Or we could continue with the mission at hand. Now, Emily is in dire need of this information to further her cause. That is the main thrust of the mission. Yes, unfortunate fallout has fallen our entire party, but that is something that we can deal with in its proper time. Now is the time for action on what we have. Now, Finnegan, do you have the capacity to take what we have to Emily?
Yes, I had to make some alterations that I'm not necessarily 100% confident in, but I think it can happen. And Finnegan, at this point, he's looking around. Hold on a second.
Yes.
Are you talking about Zarkon?
Yes.
Well, of course you do. He has a body.
Right, but is he around?
Oh,
Would I notice him?
Yeah, absolutely. He's right here, and I was just gonna say that. So
Okay.
Finnegan looks around at each of you in turn, and it looks like he sees Zarkon for the first time, and his eyes go wide as dinner plates, and he says, "Holy Mother of Mystara, what are you?" And Zarkon says, "A beautiful and unique creature. My name is Zarkon, charmed."
And he's also the reason why I was able to prevent the worst possible timeline. This is some kind of evil being that
I resent that.
I don't give a shit. He's some kind of evil being that came alive, and there were dozens of other of these evil shitheads. And if I hadn't destroyed them all, we would have dozens of evil beings, not just one.
Zarkon looks at you, Fiala, and even though, like I said, his eyes are just like blank white spots, there is a kind of expression that you can't help but imprint on him as he stares at you, and he just drawls, "Do not fear what you do not understand, my child.
Who says I fear anything?
It's obvious."
Eridu
Plainly obvious.
is throughout all this scanning, just Twin Harbors, just making sure, just keeping an eye out for ships. And he says, "Look, there's plenty of time to discuss this. Tiala, Zarkon is one of a kind. He is possessed by a spirit. He's the only one that was. All the rest were inert. That is information I should have given you and did not have the time to. We were in a hurry. Finnegan,
Yep.
there is a sentient being possessing this suit of wood and metal. It can possibly give us information that we need to know about these things. There is an entire ship full of these. We sank that. There was maybe 20, 25. Malcolm, your people are in danger. You specifically, your crew. We need to take action now. We need to go see Emily. The 3 of us, 4 of us, including you, Finnegan, 5 of us, including you, Zarkon. The rest of you should make your way down to the Silent Seas. If you're familiar with that area, there are halflings there who may help harbor you.
They're familiar.
Can we all agree to take action now and converse in a safe space where we're not going to be hunted down by Harbor Watch?
Yes.
Sounds fine to me.
Good. Let's move.
Very well. Malcolm, he's been staring at this whole situation with a look of like shock, and like, he's not used to being totally out of control with what's going on his boat. But as soon as you mention the Silent Seas, a look of relief goes over his face, as if he maybe forgot that would be a good option. Like, he was so panicked, and once you mention it, he just realizes, you're right. That's the only place we can go right now. And Finnegan pipes up and he says, "God's damn straight, that's the only place you can go right now. I mean, you sure as well can't go to Twin Harbor anymore." And he points at Malcolm and some of the crew members. They got your number. They absolutely got your number. And Finnegan, at this point, he reaches into his pouch that he has, and Halifax, you would recognize this as a pretty standard-looking component pouch that any self-respecting wizard would keep on them. But there is a small difference in this one where he dives his hand in, and the pouch is only so big, but his hand goes in farther than it should. It's like, yeah, it looks like there's a little extra dimensional fuckery going on there.
So, as though this bag can hold more than a normal bag could hold.
It's almost like that. So he reaches into his component pouch very deep and pulls out a piece of white chalk. And on the surface, on the wooden surface of the deck, he starts drawing a large symbol. And it starts with a cross, and then there's an intersecting cross, so that there's 8 points. And then he starts drawing like squares that are intersecting with all of them. And he just starts talking while he's doing this. And he actually turns it into a bit of a lecture on the nature of magic. I wouldn't expect you idiots to know anything about this, but this could be a very helpful, very helpful thing to do. To blah 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 blah, and he just starts rambling and rambling and rambling. And I will actually show you guys the graphic of what he draws on the deck. And
cool.
It looks like this. If y'all can see that. In a second. There it is. Yeah. And
That's very cool.
Yeah, he starts rambling and he says, as you can see, on the top portion you've got evocation, and each school of magic is diametrically opposed. Evocation, opposed by necromancy. Enchantment, opposed by transmutation. Conjuration, opposed by abjuration. Divination, opposed by illusion. But they're all connected. They're all part of the same thing. Don't you understand? Don't you get it? It's all connected. It's all magic, but they're separated into different schools. Don't you understand? Don't you get it? If you guys don't get the reference already, Finnegan is
no, we got it.
Jeez, Finnegan.
Finnegan's very much based on Rick Sanchez.
Yeah, the first burp you did, I was like, I hope that was on purpose, because I'm pretty sure this is a Rick character.
Oh, that was on purpose, baby.
Yeah, no, I
By
got
the
it.
way, while he's rambling off on ridiculousness, I've pulled out my ink pen, my ink, and my paper, and I'm transcribing it on the just in case that it's a sigil.
Sure. Yeah,
Of some kind.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean in towards Eridu and Thiala while he's going on about these symbols and schools as well. I'm not entirely certain that this Finnegan is a reliable character. Trustworthy, perhaps, but reliable. He seems to be enjoying a tonic at present.
I would agree that he is a very unreliable narrator. And that anything he says must be taken with a grain of salt. So do not build theories and fan theories based off of his words. This has been Asa's rant about how he feels about fan theories about Rick and Morty. There's a lot of balance in there.
So Finnegan doesn't really care if anyone's actually listening to him, but he's just rambling on as he draws the whole thing. And he drops the name at one point, and he calls this the Wheel of Magic. Or another name that he uses is the Eightfold Star.
So Eridu is trying to follow and finding this. If he was if this was a person trying to teach him magic, he finds they're doing a very incomprehensible job.
Oh yeah.
Because he still doesn't quite get it.
And he doesn't care if you don't get it. He's not dumbing it down for anyone. He just starts talking about like very esoteric topics relating to the different arcana, and so once he's done with it, he
What was it called again?
the Wheel of Magic, or another name for it is the Eightfold Star. And he dusts his hands of the chalk and puts the chalk back in his pouch, and he says, "All right, I suppose it's about time to get the hell out of here."
What is this supposed to do?
It's an aid for spellcasting. I have set it up so that in the perimeter of this Eightfold Star, I'll be able to do some very limited transportation.
We do all kinds of magic with this star, Eridu.
All
kinds of magic.
Eridu, all kinds of magic. You have no idea.
As long as I don't need to stick this magic circle up my bum.
No, you don't. So,
All
right. So who's coming? And actually, Finnegan, without even any kind of prompting, he just grabs Zarkon by the shoulder and he says, "All right, big guy, here we go. Come on in the circle."
All right. I will join the circle,
All right.
and I'll give Halifax a worried look and say, "This isn't going to blow us up, is it?"
To the best of my knowledge, no. But who knows? He could have prepared explosive runes this morning.
No, I did not. Today just didn't seem like a day for that, so don't even worry.
Oh.
Still, I'll share a look with Thiala and Eridu. I'm a little worried, but I'll still stand within the circle.
All right, so just to be clear, in the circle currently, it is, or rather the star, within the star, it is Finnegan, Zarkon, Thiala, Halifax, and Eridu. The 5 of y'all.
And when Thiala steps in, I'll say, "I wouldn't accept anything he gives you, especially if there's a rune on it."
So at that, Finnegan reaches into his pouch again, and he pulls out a very sizable looking sapphire. It's a beautiful stone that is veined with a kind of like just little streaks of silver through it. And he reaches into his other pocket and he pulls out a flask, and he uncorks the flask, and he takes a big swig. Ugh. Yeah, I forgot to tell you all, but this is gonna hurt a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. And then he holds up his hand, crushes the sapphire. It looks like his old knobbly hands shouldn't have the strength to do something like that, but he crushes it, and instead of crumbling into little fragments of stone, it just the word would be sublimate. Like if it goes directly from a solid to a gas, that's pretty much what happens with the sapphire. Goes as he's crushing it, it goes from a solid sapphire to this bluish mist that just explodes and envelops you all. And there is a shock to your system. It's not enough that I'm gonna make you take damage, but it is like a shock to your system. It just feels like your entire body got dunked into ice cold water. You have that initial shock, just oh, and then the deck of the Tranquility disappears from your sight. And hold on, Asa just okay. He's gonna be back. Asa's gonna be back. Don't worry about him. So the deck of the Tranquility disappears from your sight, and as your vision reforms itself, it's covered in this blue haze, and when the blue haze dissipates, you find yourself back in the Resistance hideout. That's what I'm calling it, because you guys are like the Resistance, and you got your hideout under the Temple of Anesti, but you're back in there. You are standing in an identical eightfold star that Finnegan has inscribed on the ground in the hideout, and Emily is standing right in front of you, and no, she's more like sitting on a table. She's sitting on a table, and her feet are kicked back, and she is just giving you this death glare. Just giving you this absolute death glare right now.
I'm gonna hang my head low, leaning on my staff. I do apologize, Emily. We acted the best way that we thought at the time. Perhaps it was not the best way to go about things, but the primary task was complete. We have information. Eridu, we have the information, right?
Yes, we do.
Look, I don't mean to be ungrateful. I'm glad that you have the information that we need, but you're supposed to be working against Garth and Vitrell from the shadows. What just happened is the absolute opposite of working from the shadows. Every element of surprise that we had, every asset that we had in our secrecy, it's all gone. Don't you understand that?
I give her a bored look and lean up against the wall.
And you, who the hell are you?
Thiala is an acquaintance of Eridu's, trusted and a very capable warrior. If were it not for Thiala, we surely would have died.
Oh no, I'm sure. I know she's capable. I've seen what she's capable of. Death, destruction, and mayhem. Are these the kind of friends that you keep, Eridu? Really? Are these the kind of friends that you keep?
Emily, we had a mission. The mission has not gone as well as we had hoped. I see little point in berating one another over the companies that we keep. That does not change anything that has or has not happened. I have trusted Thiala with my life and would again. The actions she took were my fault. I did not give her the information she needed to have to remain secretive. She saw not only ourselves, but also the entirety of Twin Harbor as a threat, and needed to neutralize that threat. At least she felt she did. That's on me. I took her on this mission. I am responsible. Whatever reprimand you need to give me personally, I will take. However, that can be done between you and I in private.
Very well. She is fuming silently, and just seems like she needs to hold her tongue for a little bit and just calm down. And at that, Finnegan just starts chuckling and says, I told you all you were walking into a hornet's nest. Oh, this is rich.
Finnegan, don't you have better things to do?
You're absolutely right. I do have plenty of good things that I can do. Now, if you're so kind, step out of my star. Get out. Get out. All y'all. Except for you, big guy. And he's pointing at Zarkon. And
I've already long since stepped out, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll walk out.
for sure. So Zarkon stays in the center of the star, and he looks at Finnegan with some kind of curiosity as Finnegan is walking around the perimeter of the star. And Zarkon says, "You're not going to do anything unsightly to me, are you? I just got this new body. I love it quite a lot." And Finnegan grumbles, No, don't get your panties in a bunch or anything, you big metal lug. I'm just trying to figure you out. I want to see what makes you tick." And at that, he reaches into his component pouch and he pulls out a pearl and a feather. And the pearl and the feather have been wrapped together with some twine, and they are and he starts passing the feather over Zarkon's whole body, and he starts mumbling some words under his breath. And those that understand Elvish hear that he's saying he's saying a word. It sounds like pantalomba. Like that's one that he keeps repeating over and over again. And it translates loosely to like reveal yourself or something. And Hilofax, since you are an accomplished wizard, I'm not even going to make you roll an Arcana check to identify the material components and the actions and everything. Oh, it's funny that I said identify because that's the spell that he's casting. He's casting identify, and you can
I have
easily
identified him, so
that.
would I be familiar with it too?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Because I'm actually have identified where Halifax says.
aha, for sure. So yeah, you guys can tell that that's what he's doing. He's trying to get some information about Zarkon right now. So and he's taking his sweet time with that, and it's it's going to be like kind of like a 10-minute long thing. He's going to be casting it as a ritual.
Eridu is going to go and lean up against the table that Emily is sitting on. So, that thing there appears to be some sort of mechanical wooden armor construct. It is alive now because it's possessed by the spirit of a drow king from centuries ago. But I believe that all these things had a way of being activated at some point. There was about 25 of them in crates on the ship that we intercepted.
Out of character note, I remember it was like 50, or is Eridu just like misremembering, or is he like intentionally downplaying it?
I thought you told me there was like 20, 25, like more than.
Well, I mean, like that was like your initial estimate, but then you guys actually found a manifest that detailed exactly how many units were on board.
Oh well, in that case, I'm gonna give her the manifest because that'll make things easier.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you guys did find some useful shit out there, man.
I think Halifax found the manifest. So
Yes.
Eridu is going on the information he has had.
Yeah.
I'll let him do the manifest giving.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think I made you carry the manifest at some point, but yes, we haven't had a proper look inside apart from me.
all right. So yeah, I'm going back in my notes. So there's a shipping manifest that bears the symbols of the South Írden Shipping Company. And that's got all this information about where the ship came from, where it was headed to, what
it was from
on
Salter
the ship.
on the
Yeah.
Isle of Tolth,
Yeah.
going to Twin Harbour. The cargo was 50 units of juggernauts. The vessel was the Intrepid, and there's a handwritten letter to Ozka.
Yeah.
Shipped to Telsavan from Vintus Rolnor.
Would you guys like me to read the letter again? Would that be...
Ooh, yes, please.
Okay, here we go. So actually, yeah, the flavor here is going to be you give the letter to Emily, and she's got her feet up on the table. She says something first to Eridu after Eridu like gives her that whole breakdown of like, yeah, that suit of armor thing is just like possessed by an ancient drow king, like no big deal. She looks at Eridu and says, you know, that's the craziest thing I've heard all month, but that seems to be happening every day. Every day I'm hearing the craziest thing that I've heard all month. So I'm just going to take it in stride. That's all I can do at this moment. And then someone hands her the letter, and she unfurls it and starts reading. Dear Oskar, first allow me to apologize on the delay. We've had problems with implementing the new design. The frames we were using could not handle the extra weight. Consider this shipment as new prototypes. But I believe we have found a perfect balance. These units are ready to be shipped to Telsavan. Please remember, any more than 4 crates on a wagon can lead to damages. With regards, Vintus Rolnor. And Emily, as she finishes the letter, she looks at Eridu and says, "What does Telsavan have to do with this?"
I don't know. The last I was in Telsavan, I delivered an orb there that was something we took from the Drow. I know that Agner and On and Alton were in Telsavan for a time. But what it has to do with these constructs, I couldn't tell you.
So you told me. Okay, so this one I'm looking at right here she looks over at Zarkon, was the only active one. And that was only because this Drow king found a way
Yes.
to take it over, and you sunk the rest.
Yes.
But from this letter, it seems like this has not been the first shipment. We have no idea how many shipments of these have already come through Twin Harbor.
Unfortunately, we did not have that information before we acted against the ship. Had we, maybe we would have taken less drastic measures.
Well, I suppose I must apologize. I think you did do some good by taking the rest of these things to the bottom of the sea, but the explosive fashion in which it happened will cause some problems for us. Will definitely cause some problems for us.
I do regret that it cost us both our secrecy and the tranquility as an asset.
Yes, what happened with Malcolm? Is he okay?
He is fine. The Harbor Watch that intercepted us seemed to know who they were. I don't know if it's the reputation of the Tranquility itself or if there was someone who fed them inside information. So I instructed him to go to the Silent Seas and harbor with the residents there. I know that they will be safe in that area.
I after as he's saying this, I woke up and I say, I actually attempted to negotiate with the Harbor Watch, and it would seem they were in league with the ship. I attempted to pass us off as being their escort, and I was told that I was a liar because, specifically, I was told that I was a liar because they were in league
Yes.
with them, and I would assume somebody in the harbors.
Yeah, this entire situation has some very troubling implications. I had no idea how deep the corruption was set in this city, but it seems that every institution, every organization that is supposed to be dedicated to the preservation of this city is corrupt. Eridu.
What?
Oh, no, you go.
What are Garth's actions? I'm concerned that things here are getting to move in a militaristic way, and I don't care for it.
Garth is so secretive, as you know, and I can't know exactly what his actions are, but the harbors have been busier than they ever have been with shipments coming in and out. I believe that Garth and Vitrell are using their influence over the shipping company to fund this conflict and to bring ever more dangerous weapons into the city and into Irden.
Well, do we know why? I mean,
I can't even begin to understand why. All I'm trying to do, my only part in this, is to keep the good, innocent people of Twin Harbor safe, to keep them out of this crossfire. It's what Akram would have wanted.
yes. He also would have wanted to prevent whatever crossfire this might be.
We can only do so much, Eridu. We
I know.
don't have a standing army at our back. We have but a ragtag collection of
No,
whoever
don't
the hell
get
we
me
can
wrong.
pick up off the street.
I'm not saying we need to do more. I'm more lamenting on the concerns that our actions already may have caused more damage to that cause than good.
Yes. Finnegan was able to tell me that we were not the only ones watching. And that is bad news. That is very bad news. That means that whoever else is acting against us, I can only assume it's Garth and Vitrell. They know everything that happened out there.
Emily, have you ever heard of the Navaler?
It does not ring a bell for me.
Okay. They are a, let's say, elite special forces that,
Okay.
amongst their missions is training, if you will. They have done some insurgent training. They specialize in extradition and sabotage and other forms of destabilizing activities. I would say if you could perhaps establish a meeting and drop my name, that you could find yourselves with some support.
You want me to go to a shadowy secret meeting with some incredibly deadly drow?
If you drop my name, I promise you, you will find yourself protected and safe.
I sure hope your name is worth something.
It carries significant weight.
While that is certainly an avenue to explore, and I would implore you, Emily, to make sure that you utilize every resource at your disposal. What concerns me is what would be for the greater good. While Twin Harbor is a linchpin in the region, protecting it is not its own end. We're protecting Twin Harbor to make sure that the world is stable, that the least amount of harm is done. What is it that we can do to ensure that that is the ultimate case? Do we have any reconnaissance in the Azamar capital? Perhaps even the Drow cities? Do we know what's happening there?
Nothing yet, but now that we have, hopefully, the assistance of this esteemed wizard, and she chuckles a little bit, looking over at Finnegan, we could probably set something up. I only recently just met Finnegan. He stumbled upon the temple in a very, very curious way, and I quickly established that he was not a threat, perhaps to himself. And she gives a funny look over to him, and he just looks back with a grumpy scowl on his face. Perhaps to himself, but certainly not to me. And we've established a working relationship that I think will help out quite a bit. And also, Eridu, I should mention. That Finnegan may have the capability to get you into the ISCB.
Good. I could use Agner's counsel right now, but I know he would. He is not one for fighting in the shadows. I seem to surround myself with people like that. I give Fiala a sideways glance. But I had another thought while we spoke. I seem to have put myself in a position of servitude toward Garth. If perhaps that position still holds, I can ally myself with him that will allow me to gain access to whatever ways he has of gathering information. It
I
will
would
be
suggest
dangerous.
that will be dangerous, Eridu.
Yeah.
If Finnegan is correct and that others were watching our actions out there on the seas, perhaps that information has found its way to Garth. He sounds to me like a man capable of accessing these resources if he really put his mind to it. I suppose what we first need to establish, and perhaps you would be the best position to do that, Eridu, is whether or not he has the will to do it.
It's a complicated situation, and I believe that I have found myself bound to him in a way that he might try to pull to his best benefit. He is going to ask me to spy on you, Emily. He knows of our friendship. If he feels that you are a cause and a concern, that is something he will do. If it can get us more information in the long run, it is something that I will also be doing. I will have to feed him information, something that might hurt us in the short run, but could give us a much larger benefit in the long run. I'll need that false information, though.
I must admit, Eridu, I do not like the idea of you going double agent on me.
I do not care for it myself. It's that, or with the resources we have, we try to fight in a very guerrilla tactic.
We don't seem to have a lot of options.
Information is the thing we need more than anything else. It is how we, with our limited resources, will actually win this, if there is something to be won.
You know, even though we know who the top is and don't need to be worried about climbing the food chain to prove Garth's involvement, besides which he is obviously the untouchable. Because as I've seen so far, there is no proper government. That doesn't mean that we can't use similar tactics of running up the food chain that our guards use in drug raids. Of starting at the bottom and using interrogation tactics and forcing them to give up the next level in order to dismantle the organization.
Okay. Seems a little involved. Emily is mulling over a lot of ideas right now. She looks quite overwhelmed, and she says, "Excuse me, I need a cup of tea or something." And she walks off into the other room really quick. At that point,
I could use a glass of wine myself.
At that point, Finnegan comes over and he says, "Oh, wine? Why didn't you say so before?" And he snaps his fingers, and two glasses appear on the table, filled with a rich, dark red liquid, and there is a glow to it as well that seems to be emanating from the glasses themselves. And Finnegan says, "Drink up. Conjured fresh just for us, my friend."
I'm gonna grab one and smell it, kind of swirl it in the glass and look at it and say, what vintage?
Right now. That's the way it works with conjuration. You just conjure it. And it happens. You open up a
So,
conduit, everything just flows into the way that it should be. Really, it's like Arcana 101, but I wouldn't expect you to know that.
so how would you tell this is good wine? It has not aged.
You drink it, you idiot.
I'm going to set it back on the table and say, you keep your wizard's wine. I will save my palate for something a bit more sophisticated.
More for me. And that at that point he just straight chugs the first glass and then has a pained face and then picks up the second one and he just starts sipping it. Ah. Oh yeah, that hunk of junk he got over there. It's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. It's got some serious fey-tinged magic soaked right through that thing. Saturated with fey magic. You got to be careful. But I don't know. He seems friendly enough to me. I don't know. Maybe if you piss him off, yeah, that would be a bad idea. But I don't know. We're actually kind of friends right now. And he looks back at Zarkon, and Zarkon gives him a little wave or something cute like that.
I'm going to walk over to Zarkon and... Zarkon, do you have any access to memories or thoughts or anything that this creature may have possessed before you possessed it?
It was but a shell. A blank slate. Beautiful. Pristine. Just waiting, aching for histories to be written upon it. Histories written with the actions. Actions of the great and the blood of enemies.
How about how it's to be activated? These things, are they meant to be possessed by spirits like yours? Do you know that?
I can't say, but I had a remarkably easy time figuring out the faculties that I now possess. It just seemed like it was a glove, and I was the hand.
Huh. Well, there's less information than I had hoped to garner from you. But it still helps.
I'm happy to be of service to you anytime, Eridu.
Zarkon, what were you a king of? What are your specialties? What makes you powerful?
My birthright makes me powerful. Being part of a long line of great drow kings. Their power, their will, and their dominion passed through to me, and I am the rightful heir of all of that dominion and power.
What an interesting way to consider power.
You know nothing of true power.
I look at my fists and I go, these are the only things that I'll ever need to implement my own power.
None of you in this age have a true concept of what power is. It was so much more impressive back in those days. Everything now is just a candle in the wind in comparison.
It's funny how memories work, isn't it? When you look back, those times always seem better than the present. But in reality, it's all just the same.
Very well. And he just gives you the ghost of a smile. And Finnegan, he lets out a large burp after he has chugged the rest of his other glass of wine. And he says, all right, Smarmy, I mean, Eridu, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I was told that you needed to get into a thing. The thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, Finnegan, I do. I have a friend who's been taken by the Bureau. We must get him out. Preferably with as little fuss as possible, because they can probably just track him down if they realize he's gone again.
Sure. Yeah. No. I'm fairly confident that I could get us in there. I can't exactly do it right now. It's kind of a complicated story, but I'm not from here, and I don't mean that. I guess we're in Twin Harbor. I don't mean that. I'm not from this plane at all, and I have run into a couple of difficulties. Certain spells of mine don't really work as well in this plane because I think you guys have a different weird little magic system going on. It's so much easier back in my plane. You have no idea. But anyway, I can set up a teleportation circle, but not with the components that I have. We need to get components that are appropriate and native to this plane. Magical components. I'm talking special magical chalks that are infused with gems. And I did a little bit of research. I think what will really work here is moonstone. If we get some moonstone chalk, yeah, that should work. I found that there's a warehouse. The ISCB, those sneaky guys, they have a warehouse here that's got a little store of that chalk.
Oh, okay. It took me a moment to put that together. I was like, wait, we gotta break into the ISCB to steal chalk so we can break into the ISCB.
Oh, no.
I got it.
Yeah.
It's the warehouse.
The warehouse.
All right, you tell me where it's at and we'll get this done.
Very well. And he gives you a little bit of details of the directions, and in order to do that, he actually has to, on the table, there's a huge map of Twin Harbor. This whole room is used for strategy for Emily and all that stuff. So we're going to consult the Twin Harbor map really quick. And so in the center of the river, it's like you got those 3 islands, and then further up the mouth of the river, you have the little circular thing that is connected to the eastern part of the city, and that is where he points to and says, yeah, did some scrying, did some snooping, did some detecting, and yeah, there's a huge store over here. It's the Motherlode, baby. Boy, is it the Motherlode. So that is where you're gonna find something like that. That is exactly where you're gonna find something like that. And he said, and then he says to Eridu, this is another detail, and says, look, I'll help you get into the ISCB, but it's going to be a quid pro quo kind of situation, you understand? You need something. You need to save your friend. I need something. It's the whole reason I'm here. Stumbled upon this plane because I thought I would have a chance at getting a spell. And what do I find out? It's all under lock and key in this plane. Ridiculous, in my opinion, but still, it's the possibility of getting that spell. You help me, I'll help you. You help me get my spell, I'll help you bust your friend Agner out. Your sweet little friend, whoever he is.
Will the spell be in the same place as Agner or the chalk?
I have no idea. No, I mean, it's certainly not in the warehouse. That they don't keep that kind of shit in just a dusty old warehouse or anything. No, that is at the headquarters. That is under lock and key. The warehouse is just, an extra little storeroom. They have warehouses scattered all over the place from what I can imagine. You can't keep all that magical juju just in one building.
I'm familiar with how warehouses work and what their functions are.
Yeah, that's
what I'm
saying.
Familiar with how this bureau works and what its functions are. Aside from the few interactions I've had with them, I do know it's very unpleasant. I can't say I care for them very much.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of dicks to me.
Mm. I can't abide bureaucracy.
It sucks.
That's Asa playing it for Rick knowledge. All right. Halifax. I'm gonna just kind of call out his name and then walk away from Finnegan very promptly. Can magic be traced?
Yeah, it's certainly possible to trace magic back to its origins. It can be difficult. Divination helps.
And if you were a member of a bureau of people who maintain magic spells and monstrous creatures, would you have all of your warehouses under magical protection?
Well, it depends how important I felt the warehouses were. Protecting things in such a manner would take resources and time. It depends how bureaucratic and bogged down by process the entire institution is. My personal understanding of the particular magical bureau to which we're referring, naming no names just in case we're being currently scryed upon, I'm not entirely certain. I could consult with a few people and see if I could learn more.
You have brought up a very valid point. Finnegan,
Yep.
is it possible to protect against people spying on us through spells?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You just gotta have, gotta have the right thing prepared. And I can tell you right now. And he looks around. I mean, we're good right now. Ain't nothing picking up on this.
All right. Can we set something up so this place can be permanently protected from magical spying?
Oh, the entire place?
This particular area, this room, this secret chamber.
I gotcha. And he starts walking around and looking at the walls and just kind of sizing the whole place up and says, I mean, it'll take some time. And I don't know, I gotta go take a dump really quick, but, I'll get right on that, Just give me some time. Oh, also you, Eridu. I heard that you have... Do you have a sigil sequence that I can look at?
Is he referring to the thing that the bureau guy left on the...
Dunham left on the ground.
Yeah. And if I remember right, I jotted that down, right?
You did.
Yeah, okay. Yes. And I'm gonna pull it out and hand it to him.
Alright. I'm gonna need to do some reverse engineering with this. It's gonna take me some time. But I'll work on this. I'll work on, divination proof in this whole situation. And maybe you all work on getting those chalks for me, huh?
Yes. That is what we're planning on right now. Halifax, Fiala, would you accompany me to a magical warehouse where we may have to break down some spells and steal some chalk?
Absolutely, Eridu. The past 48, 72 hours have taught me that you're a man that seeks the same purpose I do. I'll follow you.
Thank you.
Shall we leave in the morning?
Do you think we need to take a rest? If you're fatigued, I wouldn't mind.
I am very fatigued. I am both physically fatigued and I don't have the magic left in me. I just don't have that in me anymore. I would not be able to cast a spell except for my tiara. That's
I understand.
pretty much the only thing I have left.
Why don't you two rest, and I will go and attempt to scout for this warehouse's whereabouts. I am feeling fairly active myself. I don't think I could sleep if I tried. So let me go do that, and I'll return, and tomorrow we'll set off on... Actually, maybe we should wait until tomorrow evening.
Yes. What I shall do in the meantime is I'll research the bureau itself, see what I can find about the usual practices, the divinations, the protection spells. I certainly wouldn't want to come across some abjuration that we're not prepared for.
That is a good idea.
Very good idea.
Although Eridu's kind of mostly goes over his head.
Fair enough. All right, so y'all are gonna take a long rest, essentially, and Eridu's got his whole mission where he's gonna go take a little reconnaissance, scout, walkabout kind of situation, and at that, it is time for us to take our break.
Oh yeah,
So-
break time. Oh,
Yeah,
forgot
it's
about
it's break time. So
All right.
come back in about 10 to 15 minutes and check out what happens in this crazy warehouse. And maybe you guys will be blessed with more of Finnegan's amazing, beautiful. I don't know what to say about him anymore, but
we love him. We love
yeah,
Finnegan.
we love him. We love him.
He's someone we hate to love and love to hate.
We love to hate, hate to love. There will be more of him in the future. Let's hope. So, thank you very much. We'll be right